So this lesson will be modified for a student with traumatic brain injury named Robert. Robert is 5 years old, and due to TBI, Robert has issues with motor skills, especially fine motor skills. Fine motor skills have to do with how we may grip a pencil. So a student who has issues with fine motor skills, for us, we could easily grip this highlighter. But for them, they might have issues with holding it. If they have low muscle tone, their hands can be very floppy, so they have a lot of a hard time holding it. They also can have issues when it comes to life skills, such as if they have to zipper their pants or their shirt, and also with buttoning things too. With the help of his one-to-one para and adaptive supplies, Robert will hopefully be able to succeed in this lesson. The lesson that we have planned here is one that will help students practice their fine motor skills. So the objective of this lesson is students will be able to color in this apple, and then we have dotted lines. So then part 2 would be that they'll use a scissor and be able to practice their cutting skills, which also helps with their fine motor skills as well. So one modification will be the use of larger and easy to hold crayons. I don't actually have those, but as we can see on this picture, these crayons are usually bigger. We have a tool that we actually could put the crayons in, so it helps the student to grasp it. Also, I don't have a picture of that, but we have extra large crayons that could be very, very thick to help students as well. So that's one modification that he'll use. And as stated in the textbook, this is stated in our textbook by Dunstan Gorman, 2009, markers and crayons that produce distinct visual effects helped students to show an increased quantity in coloring and improved the quality of these markings. Also, having structured activities helps students by allowing them to copy the adults. That's one thing. As teachers, we always want to model for our students. So when we model, these students will also be able to learn by watching as well. We will also use adaptive scissors. I also don't have those. I just have regular scissors. But adaptive scissors look like this. They're very big. And instead of having to actually use your fingers like we have in a regular scissor, the student would actually use their whole hand, kind of like that. And they were able to squeeze it. So it's kind of called a squeeze scissor. If that did not work for Robert, we also have scissors with 4 loops. And these are scissors where Robert can use them, as well as the teacher or the para, so you could actually cut with your student. So that's a pretty neat modification as well. The apple cutting worksheet will also be modified in 2 ways. So one way was that we will use the adaptive scissors that I showed in the picture. And the other way is that the dotted line will also be highlighted and thickened to make it easier for Robert. As you can see, I used a highlighter to make the dotted lines stand out for Robert. Another thing that would also help, sometimes if you actually start the cutting for the student, they then have a basis to go off of. So for example, if I give this to Robert and then he has his squeeze scissors, he'll be able to see that this is already cut. So that'll give him an even better idea of how to actually cut on the line. Also, the cutting will be slightly started for him, as we said. These above modifications will help Robert as he has too much muscle tone, and that condition is called hypertonia. This causes his muscles to be stiff and have poor control over his movements. So, based on the following adaptations, I am hoping that these will be enough to help Robert. He also will have his para with him, and if the above modifications do not work, then there's also different methods such as hand over hand. If he's cutting, I could put my hand over his or help him color. Okay, have a nice day, everyone.